the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is the author of the book, Am I Thinking Correctly? No other than Miss Jasmina Sabi.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Welcome to Book 101, Miss Jasmina. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Well, yes, my name is Jasmina Sabi. I finally experienced what everyone's experiencing, heartbreak. Took me a long time to experience that. I was avoiding it and finally got my heart broken. So I'm all caught up with the rest of the humans down here on what we're all trying to avoid heartbreak.
Heartbreak indeed, Miss Jasmina Sabi. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Your title frames thinking as a potentially incorrect. What are the most common signs someone is not thinking correctly, and how does your book redefine what correct thinking actually means?
I feel like how you know you're not, if somebody's not thinking correctly, if they're not questioning things. Nobody's questioning anything. People are just, it's felt as though just making assumptions based off of, I guess, everybody else's voices but their own. They're not making a decision based off of how they feel. If they get a feeling, they'll read something that says that's what that feeling is. They don't really take time to sit and connect with the mind, body, and spirit. Everyone's brain is polluted with the way that you should be acting and thinking.
What personal experience, observation, or professional insight convince you that the book specifically addressing how we evaluate our own thinking was urgently needed?
Um, well, the fact that I entered into the adult industry, more of a survival mechanism. I didn't really know what I was entering into, what people would categorize me as. I wasn't thinking about the category. I was just thinking like this is how I'm going to operate to make money until I could figure something out. And when I got my heart broken, I had a lot of people tell me like, "Well, look at the category you're in, and maybe if you did this." And I'm like, "So if I was a lawyer, I would have avoided pain. If I was a dentist, I would have avoided pain." And it just felt like this damn category is defining what type of love I should experience, and people have already made their mind up about who I am without understanding me. It was like I don't need to understand you. This is who you are, and it made me dive deeper into why do they think that? Why do they
Why?
think? Yeah.
Indeed, that's the big question. Why? How does your book go beyond standard critical thinking skills to address the deeper, often unconscious habits and biases that distort our reasoning?
I started. I went to college so I could understand how the brain works. I was like, I don't think it's as simple as this. Oh, your frequency is doing this, or oh, it was like I need to know for myself, uh, and I ended up getting a C minus in the class because I missed a big project, so lost my financial aid, and I started unconsciously studying biochemistry, and I had ran across the fact that there's drugs in our brain that influence our behavior, and I had to go deeper than you're having a trauma response. I was like, I'm so sick of that. And when the internet created, this is what a narcissist is. I'm like, how come they don't talk about how they're created? Why don't we have those type of conversations? Just this is a narcissist. This is gaslighting. We're not talking about how you guys came about with these thoughts. Just that's the problem. How did the problem evolve?
Indeed, how the problem evolved. Why is it so difficult for people to accurately assess the quality of their own thoughts in the moment?
Um, that'll have to go to, I think they're calling it epigenetics. That's what they call nature responses, epigenetics. It's environmental factors. Yeah, your mind and your body is going to adapt to the environment that it's in. If you don't have enough confidence or don't ask enough questions or self-aware enough, you're going to adapt to the environment. And now you don't know why you just performed the way you did because your brain said, well, you don't know what to do, so we'll take over from here.
So let's talk about the tools and frameworks. What is the single most practical framework or technique from the book that readers can immediately use to audit their own thought process?
If they have to acknowledge, are you feeling something? If you are, why are you feeling that? People are quick to, well, I'm feeling that because this person shouldn't have did this. All right, let's go a little deeper. Why are you feeling that? Why is that upsetting you? Why is that, really sit with yourself and take time to think. And most of all, believe. You can't have a different thought process if you don't believe in anything. I think that's the meaning of believing in God, but people constantly keep using that name as a weapon.
How does the book help readers identify their own specific cognitive biases and mitigate their influence on decisions?
I think that's where you you'll have to figure that out for yourself because I could tell you what you're going to experience, but I'm not God. The point is for you to read the book, and I'm very sure it's going to make somebody naturally self reflect so that they can get the connection so then they know their purpose.
Very well said, Miss Jasmina. Very well said. What concrete strategies do you offer for disentangling overwhelming emotions from logical reasoning without suppressing feelings?
Definitely get into therapy because even with all the information I know, I still got to make sure I'm grounded. So I see my therapist like, hey, this sounds okay. I still got to run it through the chambers. I don't want to walk around here like I don't need to listen to anybody else. I still make sure I'm having conversations about how I'm feeling and what I'm thinking. And I don't just have them with friends or just by myself. I do believe there's different types of designs down here, therapists, spiritual advisors, and so many things to help you remain conscious and balanced. Just don't solely confine yourself to one thing. That's the problem.
How can readers effectively test the validity of their assumptions and belief against external evidence or alternative perspectives?
Talk to people and don't have a conversation hoping they'll agree with you. If they don't agree with you, take time to say, am I seeing this? Can I see this differently? Stop looking for emotional validation and actually look for understanding.
True. Totally agree with you, Miss Jasmina. What's your advice for readers stuck in unproductive cycles of rumination, catastrophic thinking, or persistent self doubt?
Oh my God. Be okay with that. Be okay with self doubt. Be okay with that feeling. That's literally what also hinders people from growing. When they feel that, it's like, I should just stop because I don't want to keep feeling this. Say, oh, I'm glad I'm feeling this. It means that my brain chemistry is changing different directions and be okay with that. And if it happens too much where you feel like, I don't know if this is correct, not, that's where you have to be vulnerable enough to talk to other people. And if you can't do it with your friends because you're worried about keeping a certain image up, we'll talk to a therapist.
Talk to the therapist, people. It's a good advice, Miss Jasmina. Good advice indeed. How does applying the question, am I thinking correctly, fundamentally change how people approach significant life or career decisions?
They're willing to open their mind to something new.
As in, they open your mind, what inside you, right?
Yeah, I think you open everything your chakra, your mind, your heart, your vibrations, all these different things. If you're willing to want to understand, want to understand, but people they don't want to understand, and I think I'm gonna have to send that back to childhood. You weren't allowed to understand what was happening to you. You just had to what is the word? You have to had to adapt. You weren't allowed to understand. You just had to adapt.
How can the principles in your book improve communication and conflict resolution by helping individuals understand their own thinking patterns before engaging with others?
I feel like I'm so vulnerable in the book about things that I went through that I feel like it'll help people say like, okay, it's not just me. But mostly people don't want to reflect because they don't understand why they responded like that. And to read the book and say, oh, that's what happened. It was the biochemistry thing, or okay, it was the psychological, then they could be more comfortable with going back through their Rolodex of why they probably did some things and they don't know why they did them. It was a chemical response. The brain runs on what, 90% autopilot most of the time. What a hindrance.
Ms. Jasmina, for readers prone to anxiety, how does your approach help distinguish between productive problem solving and destructive overthinking?
Well, first of all, we have to acknowledge that anxiety is a good thing. I've never heard that. I heard, oh no, you've got anxiety. Something is wrong. You shouldn't feel like that. You're not. You're you're in a heightened state. Your brain is trying to figure out what's going on. It has some new information. So tell yourself, okay, this is what's happening. Don't take on the I shouldn't be feeling this. That's the problem. Somebody keeps telling you shouldn't be feeling that, and it makes you feel like something is wrong.
How does the book address challenge of recognizing when our own thoughts are heavily influenced by others like social media, family, culture, and reclaiming independent thinking?
I feel like you gotta look at what makes you happy. If you don't have four things that make you happy, that's where you have to realize, okay, my happiness is being controlled. People will say what makes me happy is my kids. What a setup. One day they're gonna leave, or they might do something where you're not happy, or they say this man is my happiness. Well, what if he leaves? It's like, what are you doing for you to make you happy? Because if you don't know, you're gonna hop on social media and you're about to have 1,000 different things that tell you what should be making you happy. So you better know at least four.
Definitely. So, just Miss Jasmina, can you give me the four to make you happy? Four
Um,
factors that you make you happy.
I am thankful that I'm thinking and
Yes.
questioning things. That makes me happy. Another thing that makes me happy is self awareness of what of how do I put it? Self awareness of my surroundings and wanting to understand rather than just feeling like everyone should understand me. I will say I like what makes me happy is thought provoking conversations. I love thought provoking conversations to help me reflect, and I feel like the spirit for sure that helps keep my mind and my body balanced. I'm very thankful, if not for anything, the spirit to help keep me balanced down
Yes, people balance everything. How long does it typically take to internalize these self auditing habits? And what are the key steps for making them stick?
here. That could vary. I don't want to give people false hope and say 3 days and they don't figure it out in 3 days.
For sure.
As a personal connection, because yeah, I still have moments where I'm like, let me take a moment to breathe. But yeah, I don't want to give you false hope and saying it'll take this amount of time. I think that's literally the problem. If people don't figure out something in an amount of time, they feel like, oh no, it's a personal connection of you know when you feel balanced. And I feel as though to feel like, okay, I'm always going to feel balanced now that I figured it out. Don't set yourself up. Stay open minded, have conversations, and just always have pure intentions. For some reason, they got pure intentions mixed up with purified water. I think it's pure intentions.
Indeed. And how do you reconcile rigorous self critic of thinking patterns with maintaining self compassion and avoiding harsh self judgment?
Um, Calling somebody right away, like, hey,
right
I'm just
now.
like, what do you think? Yeah, like calling somebody more than likely right away because I feel like some people say stop, sit, and meditate, and it's like, no, I need to double check my thought process and make sure I'm not looking for validation because that's what people do. They call and they're looking for validation. No, I'm looking to listen and see what I pick up and pay attention to how am I feeling? Am I feeling better? Am I feeling down? So it's a human experience. I'm constantly happening.
What are the most dangerous situations where people feel most confident they are thinking correctly but are actually highly susceptible to error?
Kanye West. It takes more than being spiritually connected. You need to understand how your brain operates. And if you don't know how your brain operates, I don't know about that one. You got to know how the human shell operates. It's not just a I'm connected.
Connected to the world. Miss Jasmina, as an author, what are your short term and long term goals?
Um, Short term goal, I probably need to work on that because I'm always wanting things quick. Pretty sure it's a trauma response. Long term goal is for people to see an awareness of people taking some accountability for their actions and saying, oh, I didn't realize that, I was thinking that way. I did have a hand in my pain.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Jasmina, and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there want to write their own book too?
It's so funny. I wrote my book in about like 3 days, and everyone told me, oh, that was way super fast. And I said, I think it just takes so long because people are really confident in what they're writing. I think they keep second guessing, is this correct? Is this not correct? Are they going to like it or are they not? That's what I think because I'm like, I don't know if you feel like, hey, this is good, it should just flow. I don't
Yes.
know. It's just
Go
the way.
ahead. Go ahead. Are there inherent limits to self diagnosing thought errors? When should readers seek external perspectives or professional help?
I feel like the sign. I remember I thought I was going to have to go to the doctors when I had an awakening. I called somebody because I was like, "Is if you're questioning if this is correct, you need to call somebody." Like I think you can sit with your feelings for I don't know. I just think if I keep thinking like, "Is this correct? Is this correct?" That's enough. I need to call somebody. I need to double check. They even have a parent hotline. They have it's not just the suicide hotlines. I've clicked to Google stuff. That's how I found the parent hotline. I was having a panic attack as a parent. Like, is this correct? Is it not? And I typed it in Google, and it was a 24/7 parent hotline. I was like, why isn't this national news?
To know everybody.
Like, this is really helpful. Like, because we got moments as parents where we're like, oh my God, sometimes there is nobody you can call in. You can call the 24/7 parent hotline.
Beyond feeling better, what tangible signs might indicate someone is genuinely improving their ability to think more clearly and accurately?
Accountability in the conversation that they're talking to you, not accountability a week from now. I mean, I guess it can mean they're working on it, but if it takes you a week to take, how long is it taking them to take accountability? And I think people feel like accountability is somebody just saying, I'm sorry. Anybody could do that. They need to go into what specifically they're taking accountability for. And if you have to point it out to them, well, I guess the brain is going to adapt. Let the brain think.
Yes. Let the brain think. Use your brain, people. If widely adopted, or if widely adopted, how could the core question of your book, am I thinking correctly, positively impact broader societal discourse or problem solving?
There'll be no more soldiers, and the world leaders will have to learn how to have a conversation.
Indeed, and Ms. Jasmina, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to our my podcast, not to our to my podcast, people, to my podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and of course, my book 101 review in fifth season as well, comedy 101 in second season, food 101 in its fifth season, too, geography 101 in its fourth season, and my baby podcast, Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love Letters in third season, Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in its fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its fourth season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Miss Jasmina, to wrap up our discussion for today, what was the most surprising revelation about your own thinking patterns that emerged during the research or writing process for this book?
I was completely unconscious. I was completely unconscious to um, how the world is a great big crime scene with fancy restaurants to distract you from your children.
Miss Jasmina Sabi, thank you so much for sharing. Am I thinking correctly? To the world, hoping for more and more and more empowering books like this to come. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your book itself?
Yes, please do. My book is on Amazon. It's actually for free if you have Kindle. It's not so much about the money that will come. It's more so just taking time to read the book and see if you can learn something from it. The books that I see on Amazon is you need to think like this. I'm not trying to tell you how to think. I'm not trying to tell you how to think. I just hope that people can look at my book and say, you know what, this person got through all of this, and say like, okay, I can too, because you don't want your legacy to be this is what this person always did. You want people to say this is what they used to do, because that's a key word, used to. It doesn't have to define you for the rest of your life. People might bring up the past, but at least you can say it's the past because I'm thinking correctly for today.
Very well said, Miss Jasmina. Yes, people, let's support Miss Jasmina Sabi, because if you support her, more and more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Miss Jasmina, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.